Good evening, everybody. Welcome to OtherRealm Studio. So, I'm thinking that since tomorrow is a national holiday, I might take off from streaming. Uh, I know y'all won't be terribly interested in watching a art stream during the celebration of the founding of America. But I would like to remind everybody who lives in the Gray Court area that the deer in the pens at Magnolia Fawn Rescue. Uh, they can't run away from fireworks. So, they are fenced in with the regulation height fencing so they can't hop out and take off running like their instincts tell them to do when they hear loud explosions. So they just run blindly and bounce off the fences. And uh, normally they get spooked, do that once, back off, and they're fine. But on fireworks heavy holidays such as Independence Day, they get spooked again and again and again, and it's really kind of rough on them. So if you live near Magnolia Fawn Rescue, uh, please cool it with the fireworks. Go elsewhere if you can to enjoy the festivities. I know that there's a lot of people who want to come out to the country and shoot off fireworks where they won't be bothering anybody. Um, but like right here, this happens to be where there's deer kept in a fence, and it really drives them nuts, y'all. So uh, it would be really nice if you didn't shoot off so many, and if you do fire off some fireworks, uh, put a curfew on it. That would be really awesome of you, honestly. Uh, I can't really, I don't think there's anybody who can enforce that, but it just makes it a hard time for everybody. The deer bouncing into the fence, and Connie having to sit out in the fawn barn and be the calming adult. All night, which she's done on several occasions, and I expect her to have to do it again tonight. She's not getting much sleep, y'all. So right here, I'm just refining some sketches. I have them on a new layer. Hello, Betty Lou Johnson. Thank you for coming by and keeping me company. Yeah, I think that, they'll, it's a temporary thing at least. At least it doesn't go on for, multiple nights in a row. But it's just real hard on them to start with. And deer are such um, easily frightened creatures, really. And so they'll startle, and their first instinct is to run. And if they can't run, then it puts a lot of additional stress on them. That's one of the difficult parts about having the sanctuary. You have to have them where they can't get out and become a nuisance in the neighborhood. But at the same time, it's very stressful for them to be stuck where they can't run away. Really, it's another excellent reason not to try to keep one as a pet. Okay. So that's probably enough for the sketches. 3 deer should be plenty. Uh, I did 5 on the page last night, and that's a lot of deer. Hmm, there it goes. So I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. And I think I have the order of the layout done. Um, so that the story makes sense. I drew a cartoon of Connie. Um, hey Penelope and Brittany. Let's see. I remember Christine from several years ago. Um, I didn't know if there was another since then. Well, you were quoting Penelope. Also, you know how hard it is to draw and talk at the same time? I've been doing this over a month now, and I haven't gotten any better. Aw, hey Nora. Nora, don't cry. No, I was just saying, it's just really difficult to draw and talk at the same time. Ah, Nora, am I gonna have to draw ducks too? In addition to deer? That's what this picture needs. It needs some ducks. Have to add some in. Right, so I use Restream.io, and so I use OBS, and I have my stream key keyed into Restream, and on the free plan you can have up to two streams, or one stream in two locations. So I am also simultaneously on uh, YouTube. So I've got Facebook and YouTube going. I was on Twitch and YouTube, but I thought for the last couple days of the campaign I would do Facebook. So I did have an issue the other day where Facebook, for some reason, was really blurry, and I didn't think I had that problem on YouTube. So I dug through all my settings, and I think I've got it fixed now, or at least it's uh, not as bad. So I'm just going to apply some texture in the backgrounds here before I really get into painting. Yeah, bit bigger of a TV screen then on YouTube. Yeah, Jay pointed out to me last time that it was at a more of a phone resolution than a computer screen resolution. So I dug through all kind of settings. I still don't know half of what I'm looking at, but I haven't managed to mess it up too bad. Okay, let's pop in another layer. Go ahead and hide all that color I just did. And pick a color for some deer. That might be a little darker than most of the deer are. Okay, let's drop the sketch layer and put the background back in. And now we can finish him up. I know, he starts off looking like finger paint. But once the edges are tidied up, and the light and the shadows put in, before you know it, he starts looking like a deer. Perhaps we are just a tad exaggerated with the size of the ears, so let's select that, put it in the shrinking box. There. Now he's not cosplaying as the Easter Bunny. Yeah, there goes the save circle. Okay. So since I may not be doing another um, art stream of this book for a while, I wanted to take this opportunity to let everybody know that it's not looking like the Kickstarter will fund. So the print run is going to have to wait. And if you've contributed to the Kickstarter, don't worry about it. It was just a pledge saying that you would let your card be charged for it if the entire amount was raised. And if it's not, then no harm, no foul, no money's coming out of your account. Don't worry about it. So all that really means is that I'm going to take a little bit longer and I'm going to add some improvements to the book. And there's really no telling whether or not I'll be able to get it all done in time for, well, all done and printed and shipped and everything in time for the Christmas fair at Magnolia Falls. So on one hand, it's going to take longer, and on the other hand, it's going to give me more time to make improvements in the entire concept of the book, and I'll be able to do some things that we hadn't seen in many a year. So I'm already making plans. So I thought one of the things that could make this book outstanding, really, is to uh, also make an audiobook. So it can have a read along version. And so the reason I want to do this before the book goes to print, and I want to develop this idea and get the audio done, So the reason I want to do it before it goes to print is so that I will be able to put a QR code that leads to the audio file and just print that in the front of the book. With some instructions on, how to find the file and what to do once you find it. So that's what I'm going to be looking into. I mean, I know a lot of people usually just charge extra for an audiobook. But I wanted to make it accessible to anybody who buys the print version. And really, what better way than to print the way to access it in the book? It's going to be a lot harder to lose than was Teddy Ruxpin cassette tapes. I know I just dated myself. I think everybody likes to be read to every now and then. And creating an audio file and releasing it free with the book is a way to make that accessible. So here's a little tip that I've figured out while painting. When you paint something that, especially something that has fur, but, most objects as well, um, it's good to go ahead and choose a medium, a light, and a dark of the color that you're working in. So that you can go ahead and add in preliminary highlights and shadows. And you can always go back and add in a second darker color, a second or a third light color. But you don't have to be locked into one medium shade for your entire creature, because they exist in 3 dimensions, and there's going to be shadows and highlights. Okay, I'm going to change over to the blender and brush out some of these more harsh lines. Because light and shadow is very rarely going to be a stripe of any kind. Okay, that's enough to work with for right now. So I'm going to start on a new deer. Let's try the additional color set and see if we can get one that looks a little more blonde. That's probably not actually a color that you call a deer. I guess the color that I was thinking of is actually buckskin, which I was thinking was only pertaining to horses, but I guess literally it might be about deer. So these are very yellow and they tend off into green. So I'm going to go down here to one that's a bit more muted and see how it works. Yeah, I think this is the one I was thinking of. Very nice. You're doing great, Penelope. Practice is the key to getting good. Since I started working on this book, I have practiced so much that I have drastically improved on drawing deer, and I had to go back and repaint my earlier pages because my new deer were making the old deer look bad. Now, something interesting I noticed about deer, after years of getting used to drawing horses, um, horses have a a big circle for the cheekbone, and then you come out for the muzzle. And deer are almost like that, but it's a little bit more of a wedge shape to the head. So I found myself having to keep going back and uh, go back in, fix my deer so they don't have horse heads. Just because I got so used to drawing them or to drawing that way for such a long time. Okay, so this one is another finger paint looking deer. So let's go to the smaller brush. And we'll just tidy him up. So here I'm swapping between blending and erasing. So if I blend and it goes outside of where this leg ought to be, or if it was painted too thick in the first place, because you've really got to watch how thick the legs get. So as part of the tidying up process, I'm just swapping between blending and erasing. And pretty much I can afford to do that with digital art, but with physical media, it takes a lot more planning out. It's not so easy to hit undo. Okay, time to move to black for the nose and hooves. And also the tips of the ears. I like putting black on the tips of the ears, not because every deer has black tips, but it really helps visually to show where the ends of the ears are. It's a good design choice. Maybe not realistic entirely, but what are the chances that every deer is going to have black ear tips? But, sometimes you do things that'll just read better. Okay, so when you're doing the hooves are a wedge shape. I like this front one the best here. So we have the top of the hoof. We have the slant forward down. We have a much shorter slant forward in the back. And it curves down and meets the tip of the front. So like I could take this and shrink it down. Wow, I didn't realize that could flip. Shrink it down and apply it to the back and it would look right. Well, assuming I could get it placed. And see, that was something that was difficult to do with hooves overall. Because horse hooves also have this kind of a wedge to their shape. Very similar to deer hooves when viewed from the side, even if they aren't split. And you're not always going to be able to see them, or to see the split in the hooves. Alright, let's grab the white and finish up the tail. Okay, give me a second. I need to wring out my wrist. And we'll back up. And so I have one more deer leaned up against the tree. And then I need to actually make these trees look good. And I think another layer behind this one. And I can finish putting some woods and tree branches back behind this fence. But for now, let's hide the trees and the ground and the fence and come up with a nice color for this deer. So I'm choosing, let's see, this is a nice medium brown right here in the additional color set. And I'm going to start with the very middle of the range of brown. So this is about the bulk of the deer. Now let's hide the sketch. We have finger paint blob deer. And let's go lighter. Let's go to the lightest part. And we'll do the patch around the eyes. The inside of the ear. And a little bit showing where the underside of the deer is. So sometimes there will be this lighter patch at the base of the neck and at the throat. And And keeping in mind that the deer is very round, we'll add some highlights. Now, beside the medium brown that we started with, there is a darker medium brown. And this is where we sketch in our shadows, our edges a little bit. The creases where the legs are folded. And now we go in the darkest in that range of color. Go with the finer brush. Make sure the edges are neat and the ears make sense and are attached properly, even if they are aiming in opposite directions, which is something deer just really love to do. Unless they have their entire attention devoted to what's right in front of them. And that's also cute. Let's just sketch in where the muzzle's going to be. The darkest part of the shadows under the crease, where, the edges of the limbs are. And slightly lighter than the medium brown. So let's sketch in where the light is going to hit the edges of the bone structure and the muscles. So the neck's going to have a slight, very slight, because this is deer, not horses, crest to it. The head's going to have some lightness to the upper edge. The high points of the muscles of the shoulder and leg. grab some white. And move on into blending. Just soften it up. Keep that realistic texture. And now black. For the muzzle, ear tips again. Eyes. And there's just the one hoof showing. So let's fit to screen. Put our background back on here. Stretch my fingers. And now let's neaten up the background so that they look good standing there. So I'm trying to introduce the feeling of depth by putting my horizontal lines closer together as they get further away from the viewer, so as they climb up in perspective. And then these down here are going to be further apart. Hmm. I am so sleepy. So I'm going to have to wrap this one up pretty soon. I kind of hate to leave the trees looking like that, so I'm going to go back to the default color set, uh, pick a dark gray, and neaten them up real quick. So gray is pretty much my default color for tree trunks. Oh, When I was younger, I thought like everybody did. Oh, good. I need some supervisors. Gonna be my mods. Drop the band hammer if anyone misbehaves. So yeah, I'm just gonna neaten this one up and then I'll be signing off for the night. Somebody's got to tell Miss Chaos to remember to brush her teeth. Which, she doesn't actually forget. We just harass her about it. And I hear Rue behind me. My cat says the service at this place is terrible. He's gonna give us a bad review. Alright, I think I have succeeded in making this tree look like a tree. Somewhat. Now let's hit save. And I'll come back and do the rest of this background later. Don't worry, we're not leaving it like that. Okay, let's change the view to Fit to Navigator and scroll to the beginning. So this one's what the cover's going to look like, more or less. I might touch it up a bit more. This is where the QR codes, well, I don't know. Maybe the QR code is not going to go right here in the credits. It might go on a new page by itself with instructions on how to download and listen to the audio file that I need to put together. This is that page that I need to fix all these trees. And I have them all on the same layer and they're at different planes. So that's killing me. So here we have deer living in the forest, not hurting anybody, staying away from humans, having their territory encroached upon by humans, living in what looks to a deer like a perfectly natural habitat where there shouldn't be any people. Deer don't know what golf is, and they don't know what a hayfield is either. And here they are crossing the road in groups because they never do anything alone. Because deer are herd animals, and if you see one deer leaping across the road in front of you, stop your car and let the rest of them get past you. This is a very familiar place. There's Connie helping a deer with a broken leg. I'm still working on that sketch. This is the page with the beginning of Jesse's story. And next comes two different ways that the fawn are treated. They're each assigned a bed buddy that's close to their size, and they start to form the beginning of their herd so that they imprint on each other and not on people. This is very important so that you don't have nuisance deer later. Here they are becoming gradually more independent, but some deer aren't treated this way. Some deer won't be able to leave the sanctuary because they won't be able to take care of themselves in the wild. The piebald deer are one such case, usually. And they get to stay in the sanctuary. But most of the deer are released onto Deerland, which sounds like a fun theme park for deer. And they can live in the wild and have their fawn and raise them as they were meant to. But this was not an outcome that Jesse got to have, because he ended up losing all his fur on his first winter, so he couldn't go anywhere. So he gets to stay in the sanctuary. The end. Good night, everybody. I'll see you later. Not tomorrow, though, because tomorrow's a holiday and my wrist needs a break. Good night.